I'm playing a tournament the day after I became 2000. This is round 1 of the Frederick Showdown here in Frederick, Maryland. This is game in 30 plus 5 seconds per move, so pretty quick time control. And I just made 2000 in the tournament in the day before. So this is Sunday, June 21st, when I played this game, and in this game I played e4. I don't think I played this opponent before. He's an older senior gentleman, probably over 75, or definitely probably over 70. He played e5. We both developed our knights, and now he plays knight f6. Against this move order, I like to play d4, striking in the center, and gaining time with the move e5. He played knight g4, putting pressure on this pawn, and then I castled. He plays bishop c5, and so now if I want to reinforce, if he takes, it's not very good because I can take, and rook e1, pinning the knight to the king, and if he defends, I attack, and it's a game over. So that's why he doesn't take the pawn on e5. He plays bishop c5. Here, I'm trying to remember, if I play h3 now, if we try to do the same thing, takes and rook e1, let's say d6, f4, there's this move. This is a check, although it doesn't look that bad. King h1, and I could take on c2, queen takes, and you could go queen h4 is kind of tempting here, attacking the rook. If you go rook e2, maybe this is all okay for white. I thought there was a reason why I couldn't play h3 immediately, and I thought part of it was because of this diagonal, but it might be okay to actually play h3 anyways here. However, I know that the main way to play is bishop f4, and I've had this in games before where now white just protects their pawn twice, and after black castles, now I play h3, and now this pawn cannot be taken. The knight only has one square to go to because all the other squares are covered, which is h6. So I simply just take, and now I've doubled his pawns, isolated the f pawn. His king is open, but maybe it could be used for an attack if I'm not quick. And so white has really committed a lot here. They gave away the bishop pair, they gave away a pawn, but the king is open. So you have to act with a lot of initiative here. And this is a no engine recap until the very end of this video. So I played c3. Trading off his strong doubled center pawn for my c pawn, but so now my knight is more developed. And now he goes knight e7, rotating his knight potentially closer to his king, potentially to support the move d5 and to get out of the way of the queenside expansion of the c pawn and the d pawn. And now I play knight e4, attacking the bishop, bringing an attacker towards his king. I was very, very happy here because now he cannot go bishop e7 now to help defend his king, so his king is kind of naked. He goes d5, gaining space in the center. If I take en passant, he can take back with the pawn or the bishop, and yeah, it's just not super good for me. He's gonna get d5 in, his bishop's opened up, so he's trying to solve his issues, and so a much more testing approach. Well, one thing I did consider was taking on d5, and after knight takes, queen takes, because I have a fork at the end, so I would win my pawn back. And he still has a bad structure. However, he has the bishop pair, so he probably has enough compensation. I guess he has to give away the bishop pair potentially. And so I thought about this, but I thought this wasn't necessary. No need to trade queens to win back my pawn, to leave him with a bad structure when I can just keep the queens on, and his king is weak. So now I have 6 check, king g7. I thought he might go king h8, so then he can eventually bring his rook over. But I guess this doesn't look very appealing to him. I have this move queen c2 here, threatening checkmate with my knight and my queen. And then if he goes bishop f5, I can go bishop d3, attacking the bishop on c5. And if he trades, I can probably just take, and he has to go knight g6 here. And maybe I can go h4 and h5 potentially. So, but he goes king g7, now I go queen c2, still threatening checkmate. He defends with his rook. That's the upside of the king on g7, that he can defend with his rook, but this is passive, not massive, and this just doesn't feel very good. But I guess black does still have their pawn advantage at the end of the day. But now I go bishop d3, attacking h7 for a third time. So I have 3 attackers on this h7 square, and I'm attacking the bishop on c5 as well. So he moves his bishop out of the way, I take the pawn, and he goes c6 here. I was a little mildly surprised he didn't go c5 here. I thought he would go c5 to go c4 to go d4 and really try to open up the position here, or really try to take advantage of more queenside space, but he never did it. He goes c6, and I go knight h4, eyeing the h5 square. Maybe I'll go here. Maybe I'll go queen d3, queen g3 check. There's actually this knight moving out of the way. It opens up a lot of opportunities here. I also stop knight g6 here because here he could maybe go knight g6, and if I took, he can take, and then I was going to go knight h4, and then he cannot go queen e8 to defend, and he cannot go bishop f5 to defend. So I don't need to cover the square immediately, but it is. But here I am limiting his options. I'm controlling the f5 and g6 squares pretty well. He goes bishop e6, just developing, getting his rooks closer to connecting, and I go rook a e1 here, centralize my rook. Maybe I'll go a rook lift in the future if this bishop moves. I'm also just eyeing the e5 pawn, and if this bishop ever moves, maybe I can push this pawn to e6 at some point. So he goes queen c7, connecting rooks, eyeing the e5 pawn, but doesn't really matter in this case. And now I decide to go bishop f5. I wasn't really sure what other improving moves I could do. Like b4 doesn't really accomplish much. a4 doesn't really accomplish much. Like b4 actually makes it easier for him to try to open up the queen side, which I don't really want him to do. I don't want to make his play so easy. So this didn't seem very appetizing to me. I could go king h1 to go either like g4 and f4, or maybe just f4, f5. That's maybe an idea. But I thought much more simple was just going to bishop f5, bringing my bishop back. And he took and I took. And if he goes back with the king, I was going to go maybe knight d6. And I was like, this position looks pretty good. Like, it's bishops, it's horses versus knights in this case, or horses versus bishops in this case, but both of my knights are very, very good, very deep into the enemy territory, controlling a lot of key squares, so I thought it was pretty good. I wasn't exactly sure what my follow-up would be after I get my knight to d6, but I thought to myself that this cannot be bad. But instead of allowing my knight to get the d6, he takes my knight, and now he plays queen e7 here, trying to bring his queen closer to the defense of his position. Maybe he'll rotate the bishop back to c7. Maybe he'll move a rook over. I'm not sure. But now this allows me to do a really cool combination of moves. I go queen g4 check. His king has one legal move. I go knight d7 check. If he doesn't want to give up his queen, his king only has one legal move. And now I go e6. I gave this an annotation of a great move because this is the only way you're going to break through the position here, is with this move. And it's very nice because if he takes, then I can take with the rook, pinning the queen to the king, and if he takes, I can take, and I'm doing pretty good here. Very, very good here. I can bring in my rook to the attack, bring in my queen somewhere, and if it's not checkmate, I'll be winning a bunch of material. So he goes f6. Trying to keep the e file closed. Now I go queen g6 check, and he goes king d8. That's the only legal move if you don't want to give up your queen. And now I just take the pawn with the knight. And what I thought he would do, I thought he might go king c7 here. I was really hoping to go king c7 because then I would go queen g3 check, and if queen g6, you'll lose the queen by force because of knight takes d5. You can't take with the queen because of the pin. So then pawn takes, rook c1 check, and the king cannot go to d7 to keep defending the queen, so you have to block. But then I can just not even sacrifice. So the queen is pinned, so the queen can't take the rook, and I just win the queen by force. I was really hoping he'd go king c7 and queen d6, but instead of that, he just went rook f8, which is not a concern at all, because now I go knight g8 and I'm attacking the queen. If the queen moves, I have e7 defended by my knight. And it's a pawn fork here, so very, very nice. So he has to sacrifice his rook, he blocks, and I go give a check, and I keep the queens on because I can. I'm going to double up and triple up on the e file to overprotect my e pawn, and then move my queen or rook out of the way to start promoting it. Bishop c5, I triple up. He attacked my rook. I move my rook here to go rook f7 or rook f8, and then I attack the bishop that's guarding the f8 square, and then I just promote with a check, and he resigns here. So it was a relatively straightforward game where I sacrificed a pawn for the initiative here, and opened up his king, gave him a bad pawn structure, and then c3, a very, very key move to activate my knight very, very quickly, get rid of his center space. And by the time he started mobilizing his queenside pawns, it was too little too late. I mean, he only played c6, so I thought he should have played like c5 or something, but probably doesn't help his case. His position's probably too loose for that. And here, I think instead of taking on f5, I think he could have gone like queen d7 or something like that, and just and guard the f5 square one more time. I think that was the really key move for him to do, and I think he'll be kicking himself a little bit for not doing that, because I think that's the way to really maintain this position, because otherwise I'm gonna push e6 and open up my rook on the e file. So yeah, in this position, what am I gonna do? Like, I guess I could take on e6. And if pawn takes, maybe this is good, because then you can start running your king. I'm not really sure. You could also maybe play queen takes. Whoops. Maybe play queen takes, but then I'm probably going to play king h1 and f4, f5 maybe. So he should have maintained the tension there after I played bishop f5 and not taken, but instead of that, he took twice and the position was over after he did so. So my first test after reaching expert, which is getting a rating of over 2000, was a success, and I have 3 more rounds to go. So with that being said, I'm gonna hit the game review, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.